everyone. For this week, we're going to go more of a kind of a misconception rather than straight history of a video. There's a movie that I absolutely love called Dogma, and the muse in that goes on this long rant about how women in the Bible are the biggest villains in there and how there are really no good women in the Bible. And this is very much a theme that many argue against when they're fighting, when they're criticizing religion. But you actually don't have to go very far to find some heroic women in the Bible. In fact, I didn't really even have to go out of the book of Genesis to find a good example of a woman who is fighting against the system and where she is the hero and the men just kind of suck. So this video is going to be about Tamar and her fighting against the family that she married into. So we're starting with Genesis 38. Tamar is married to Judah's first son, Er. Er was struck down by God for being wicked. That's pretty much all the explanation that you get. She was then married off to Onan, the second born. Onan, however, was not too terribly pleased with the fact that should she have bore a son, he would lose out on a chunk of inheritance. So he decided to use the good old pull-out method to prevent that from happening. And God killed him too. So Judah, seeing Tamar as to blame for all this rather than being, hey, maybe my sons were, not the best of people, both promises Tamar his third son and then decides, you know what, I think she's cursed, I'm not going to go through with it, and just kind of leaves her in limbo for quite a while as Sheila, the third son, grows up, and Tamar is just kind of sitting in this, am I part of the family? Am I not? Am I protected? Am I in this tribe? Am I not in this tribe? Which is not a good place to be when you're in a society where property rights are only owned by men and women don't really have any freedom whatsoever. So, plot twist, time passes, Judah's wife dies. Judah decides that he's going to travel and go to shear sheep, and Tamar hatches herself a little plan. She disguises herself as a prostitute and cuts Judah off at the pass and exchanges her services for a goat that has the bridle with a seal on it and a staff that identifies Judah as the owner. A few more months pass, Tamar is pregnant, and Judah's all like, hey, none of my boys knocked her up, so we're going to burn her at the stake for getting pregnant. Well, she presents the staff and the seal and is like, hey, guess what? You're the baby daddy. And not only does she end up set for life, because, hey, now her two boys that she gives birth to, one of which, according to New Testament, ends up being the ancestor of Jesus, ends up being getting the inheritance of the firstborn son, but they would also be the later born sons of Judah. So, cha-ching, she's set. This is just a really bizarre story about a woman who very much deserved what she got, set out to get what she needed, and had to work within a system that just seemed bound and determined to screw her over because the men refused to do what they were expected to do in the eyes of the system as it was set up. And like it's a really bizarre story, and it's one of those that isn't in the Bible's greatest hits, so it easily gets passed over. So, as mentioned before, you'd think this story would get a little more credit because of the genealogy behind it. Uh, the one of the twins, Perez, ends up, according to Ethiopic tradition, becoming the king of Persia. Why'd I go Prince of Persia? I've been playing too many video games. Um, is related to King David, according to Ruth, and according to the book of Matthew, Jesus is a direct descendant of him. So you would think genealogy alone would make Tamar a much more clear staple, and that this story would be something that would be discussed a little bit more. Treat your women right in the eyes of the Lord, follow the law, do your duty as a man. But for whatever reason, it's not one that I remember being taught in church for all the years I went. uh, it's not one of the greatest hits. It's not a story that many are very familiar with, I found. Because I was really trying to see if I could find any of these weird apocryphal stories explaining, what happened to because, Jewish traditions tend to take little snippets of text and really elaborate on them. But I couldn't find it. Maybe somebody else can. To explain why was struck down. So yeah, that's the tale of Tamar, one of the female heroes of the Bible. She got what she needed, and she set out to get what she deserved and was rewarded for it. She was not struck down by God. She was the hero of this tale. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope you enjoyed the video.